Hello, you're welcome to another riveting episode of the Choo Choo Blama Sunny podcast with me, Kabuki Akumi, aka Buki. How is everyone doing in this payment before delivery Accra? Hey, Charlie. I mean, I understand that some of the vendors have gotten scammed, and that's the reason why, but some of these vendors themselves are scammers. Like, you know, what you're sending me is not what is in the picture and you are securing your payments before I can do anything about it. That's when someone said, "Oh, but if you don't like it," and she said, "What if you don't like it? But then I'll give you a refund if you don't." So it's like if I have that option, then I should be able to pay after delivery, right? And then she's like, "What if you reverse the payment?" I'm like, "Hey, Charlie, scams are being run in this Accra, oh. Charlie, hey, yeah, bro, payments before delivery. I Today we'll be talking about the Zimbabwean tale, the tale of the midnight goat thief. A story that follows the hare, baboon, and jackal down a dark, sinister road. Sit back or get into a chore if you're like me and let me yarn you this story. I'll be telling you the original version and my version. I'll be telling my version first, and my version is called One Good Turn Deserves Another. Okay, let's get started. Deep in the woodlands in a tiny burrow lived a hare called Churro. "I'm always so bored," he thought to himself as he stared around his simply furnished but empty burrow. He went about making dinner and sat down to eat alone. "You seem awfully tense. Is everything okay?" Guido the baboon asked Churro as he paced around the market the next day, seemingly looking for something. He nodded distractedly. It was market day, and a lot of animals had come from different parts of the woodlands to shop. Guido could tell from Churro's drooping ears he wasn't happy. Suddenly, Churro's ears perked up, and he stopped dead in his tracks, eyes transfixed across from them at the carrot seller's stall. A beautiful Jill was crouched over the carrots, inspecting them closely. Guido watched Churro chatting away with a large grin on his face. The Jill's ears were perked up and her short tail wagged from side to side. After chatting for a while, Churro hopped back to Guido. "My friend, I didn't know you were looking for a mate," Guido teased. Churro's ears dropped. "No one likes me in these woodlands. What else can I do?" Guido shifted uncomfortably, not having the courage to tell Churro why. "So what did she say?" Guido inquired, changing the topic quickly. "Her name is Zuva. She's invited me to her house to see her parents next week. You must come along with me," Churro said. "Of course, my friend. Say less," Guido said, happy to help. On the morning of the day of his week-long countdown, he sang as he marked the calendar D-Day right before breakfast. It wasn't long after he'd eaten when Guido stomped on the ground above to announce his arrival. "When I come back, you won't be so lonely and empty anymore," Churro said to his burro, picking up his little knapsack and saddling it on his back. Churro's furry brows were in knots as they journeyed to Zuva's part of the woodland. Guido, on the other hand, wouldn't stop talking. On and on he went, filling every moment with silence and chatter. Churro was lost in thought and occasionally grunted in agreement, not even really listening to what was being said. They came across a tall tree, and Churro's face suddenly lit up with a wicked smile. "Guido, you know I have stomach problems, and since we're going to be in a new part of the woodland, you never know what food they'll have. In case anything happens to me there, please come to this tree and climb to the top for its fruit." "Why don't I just get it now?" Guido said, scaling the tree before Churro could reply. Churro stamped his foot. Guido came back down with the fruit and handed it to Churro, who mumbled a strained thank you. After a couple of hours, they reached Zuva's village and they were welcomed by her family, who promised a big feast in their honor. Churro and Guido's stomachs growled in agreement. "Welcome to my side of the woodlands." Zuva said to Churro and Gudo, showing them to their room. After they all chatted for a while, Zuva left them to rest before the festivities. They were both woken by her softly rapping on the door. The feast will start soon. Churro and Gudo both sprung up from their beds with a quickness. A long table had been set with lots of food, and different breeds of animals had all converged at the table waiting to eat. Zuva's parents gave a speech welcoming Churro and Gudo. Then it was time to eat. Before Gudo could touch his food, Churro grabbed his stomach and began to wince. Friend, my stomach has already started. Do you think you could get me some of the fruit? I'm in a lot of pain. Gudo jumped up out of his seat and ran to the room. He picked up Churro's knapsack and saw a little hole in the bottom of it. Somehow, Churro's other things were in the knapsack, but no sign of the fruit. Friend, the fruit isn't in your bag, Gudo whispered breathlessly in Churro's ear. They must have dropped on the way here. Please go and get me some from the tree, or I will not make it through the night, Churro whispered back. Gudo immediately set off back to the tree to get some more of the fruit. Where's your friend going? Zuva asked. Oh, he has a ritual he does before he eats. No worries, he'll be back soon. Churro ate his food, Gudo's, and even ate off Zuva's plate. Gudo's shoulders slumped as he got back to the courtyard where the festivities had been held. The table had been cleared up. He rushed to their room, hoping Churro had saved him some food. I tried, but you were gone for long, and more animals kept coming, Churro said, trying to suck in his bulging stomach. How are you feeling now? Gudo asked. My stomach stopped hurting some time after you left, Churro replied. Gudo tried to sleep, but the rumbling in his tummy kept them both up. Churro suggested they go to the animal pen outside and kill a goat for them to eat. Gudo was hesitant, but his hunger was currently outweighing his ability to think. He agreed, and they went outside, killed the goat, and ate it. While Gudo slept, Churro woke up and smeared blood he had snuck in with him on Gudo's hands and mouth. Gudo was woken by shouting and a whole lot of commotion. He rubbed sleep from his eyes and found himself surrounded by Zuva's parents and some of the other animals from the night before. You thief! Is this how you repay our kindness? Zuva's father bellowed. Before Gudo could say anything, he was taken outside by the angry mob, strung up and killed. It's hard for me to believe Gudo was so evil, Zuva said to Churro as they journeyed back to his part of the woodland. They'd said goodbye to her family after Gudo's killing, and Zuva had talked the whole journey back about the incident and her shock about it. Stop talking about it, Zuva, Churro shouted at one point in the journey. Zuva was quiet the rest of the way. In the months that followed, Zuva watched Churro and concluded his spirit was too light for someone who had witnessed their best friend being lynched and killed. He sang, ate, and snapped at anyone who tried to talk about the Gudo incident. The jackal, Gava, had also been watching Churro and was very suspicious of his carefree manner and often spied on Churro and his wife. Gudo had been one of his close friends, and he'd sworn to avenge his death, knowing he was not capable of what he'd been accused of. On one of his missions, he overheard Zuva and Churro arguing about why he was so unconcerned about Gudo's death. Zuva accused Churro of knowing more than he'd let on and demanded to know what Gudo and Churro had been talking about before he'd left the party. That was all the information Gava needed. He hatched a plan to pay Churro back for what he'd done. He sent word to his brothers who lived in another part of the woodlands, and they sent word back agreeing to help. Sure, I'll go with you, Churro replied hastily to Gaba the next day when he asked him if he could go with him to see his future in-laws. Churro was happy to get out of the house and away from Zuva's now constant interrogations and allegations. Great, we'll set off tomorrow. You don't even like Gava, Zuva retorted. I'm doing it for Gudo, Churro said. Another argument ensued as Churro packed for the trip. The journey was pretty much a quiet one, something Churro relished after months of constant chatter. He wondered why he'd even thought he needed a mate in the first place. Churro, you see this plant over here? Gava said, breaking Churro's deep thoughts. I get a very bad stomach ache sometimes, and this helps. When we eat at my in laws and my stomach starts to hurt, I'll need you to come and get some for me. Churro stopped in his tracks. Gava knew. He nodded, his ears drooping down slowly. Sure, but let's stop a moment. I need to pee, he said. When they got to the village, they were welcomed by two jackals that introduced themselves as Gava's in laws. Where is the bride? Churro asked. She's around here somewhere. You'll get to see her soon. Let me show you guys to your room and you get something to eat, one of the jackals replied shiftily. After they'd settled in a bit, the jackals brought them food on several different platters. On cue, Gava immediately pressed his hand to his stomach and started huffing. Oh, don't worry, I picked some of the fruit, Churro said quickly, taking some out of his knapsack and handing it to Gava. Gava watched Churro through angry, squinted eyes as he devoured the food that had been brought to them. The jackals came to clear the plates, and Gava told Churro he was going to see his wife and he'd be back. He picked the plant and brought it with him. But don't worry, the other part of the plan is still a go. Don't tell anyone. Just raise the alarm and the rest will happen. Gava said. When he got back to the room, Churro was already sleeping. In the middle of the night, Gava woke Churro up. I'm still hungry. Why don't we go outside and see what we can get in the animal pens? Gava asked. Churro eagerly rose up. Yes, let's. They went to the animal pen and killed a goat and ate it. Gava hid some of the blood of the goat on him, ready to splash it on Churro while he slept. Back in the room, he pretended to go to sleep. After an hour, he woke up and walked to where Churro slept to find him wide-eyed laying down. Oh, friend, you can't sleep? Gava asked. I'm excited to meet your wife-to-be tomorrow. The excitement is keeping me from sleeping. Gava laughed nervously and slinked back to his side of the room. Every time he tried to put the blood on Churro, he would find him wide awake. This went on till the early hours of the morning. Gava shook as he heard his brothers raise the alarm as planned. The animals stormed their room and found Gava standing over Churro with blood on his hands. There's the thief! One of them cried. I overheard the three of them planning it, Churro said when Gava's brothers tried to plead for him. The three of them were taken, strung up, and killed. Churro was named a hero by the animals for helping them catch the thieves. He never went back to his side of the woodlands without another thought about Suva and spent the rest of his days known as a savior. Now, this is just one of them tales where the villain wins, and it's absolutely scary. It is absolutely scary. But let me read the original one for you before I go into the differences between mine and the original. So here is the original story of the Midnight Goat Thief. Once upon a time, Hare, tired of living alone, decided it was time to find himself a companion. He decided to make the journey to the neighboring village to meet his future in-laws. As was customary, he needed someone to accompany him on this important occasion. So he asked his longtime friend and happy-go-lucky fellow Baboon. He readily agreed. Then Hare and Baboon were on their way to the in-laws. When they were halfway through the journey, Hare stopped Baboon near a dense shrub and said, "Say, friend Baboon, there is one important favor I need to ask you." "Yes, friend Hare, let me know what it is I can do." "Do you see this herb?" said Hare. "Yes, friend, it is the herb used to cure a tummy ache," said Baboon. "Well done, friend," said Hare. "When we get to my in-laws' place, they will give us food. When I eat the food, I may suffer from a tummy ache. Friend, you will quickly run back to this exact place, to this shrub, dig up the roots, and bring them back to cure me." Baboon agreed, and they continued on their journey. At sunset, they reached the in-laws' village. Hare and Baboon were well received and given a room to rest. Both Hare and Baboon were hungry and looked forward to the meal. A feast was made in their honor and brought to their room. As they took the bite of the first meal, Hare interrupted Baboon. "Friend, I think that problem is already starting. My tummy is rumbling and it's starting to ache. Do you remember the herb? Rush and get me some of it, otherwise I may not survive the night." Baboon panicked and quickly sprinted off to get the herb for Hare's tummy. Meanwhile, Hare settled comfortably and devoured the whole feast all alone. When he had his fill, he called for the dishes to be removed. Soon, Baboon, huffing and puffing, tumbled into the room with the herb. "Here you are, friend. I ran as fast as I could. I found the tree, I dug the roots, and I brought them to cure your aching tummy." Hare exclaimed, about that. As soon as you left, my tummy suddenly felt better and I could eat. Now I feel quite strong." "So, where's my food then?" asked Baboon. Hare told Baboon the host had cleared the dishes. Baboon was disappointed, but the two friends went to sleep. In the middle of the night, hunger kept Baboon awake. Hare suggested a plan to steal and eat a goat from the pen outside. Baboon readily agreed to the plan, and soon the two pals accomplished their mission and returned to their room. But lo and behold, when Baboon slept, Hare stealthily smeared him with the blood of the goat that they had eaten, which he had secretly brought with him to the room. In the morning, the hosts woke up and found their goat missing. They questioned the two friends, who both denied the crime until they saw Baboon stained with blood. He was apprehended and killed. Hare apologized for his friend's behavior, thanked his hosts, and left. Meanwhile, Jackal, a friend to Baboon, received word on how Hare had tricked his friend and led him to his death. Jackal decided to avenge Baboon's death. So, Jackal visited Hare and asked for his company to his in-laws' village. In the same manner, as they were halfway through the journey, Jackal asked Hare, "Say, friend Hare, there is one important favor I need to ask of you." "Yes, Jackal, let me know what it is I can do." "Do you see this herb?" said Jackal. "Yes, friend, it is the herb used to cure a tummy ache." "Well done, friend," said Jackal. "When we get to my in-laws' place, they will give us food. When I eat the food, I may suffer from a tummy ache. Friend, you will run back to this exact place, to this shrub, dig up the roots, and bring them back to cure me." Hare agreed, but before they continued their journey, he excused himself for a bathroom break. Without Jackal noticing, Hare secretly dug up the roots of the shrub and hid them away. They continued their journey. At sunset, they reached the in-laws' village. As usual, the visitors are welcomed, given a room, and they retire for some rest. Soon, food was served. "Friend," said Jackal, "I think that problem is already starting. My tummy is rumbling and it's starting to ache. Do you remember the herb? Rush and get me some of it, otherwise I may not survive the night." Immediately, Hare produced the herb, and Jackal had no choice but to share the meal with Hare. Again, in the middle of the night, Jackal woke Hare up, spelled out the plan, and they killed and ate a goat. Jackal secretly kept some blood on his hands to later smear on Hare while he slept. They retired, and Jackal waited for Hare to fall asleep, but Hare's eyes remained wide open. He checked again and again until the sun came up. Soon, the in-laws burst in the room looking for the midnight goat thief. Jackal was caught literally red-handed with blood. Hare had slept peacefully through the night, even though his eyes never closed for a moment. The moral written under the story is, in life, there are some characters who are clever and cunning. They will always outwit you. Be careful not to fall prey to them, neither should you try to copy their ways because you may not have the same witness or advantages as they do. Which is so wild, right? Some of the differences were me making the hare's wife more present in the story, and also how Jackal gets to find out about what Hare had done. Because the hare was a trickster, so he would have covered his tracks really well. So Zuva's suspicions and the Jackal spying on him kind of made it me, kind of tied it in for me. And there's a version that has the baboon's spirit going to the jackal to tell him what fate he had suffered. I find the story to be a little scary because I think that it is crazy how people can get away with being very dubious. We're told that karma works and people don't get away with being bad, but I see it every single day. People go on to live very full lives after they've done some very, very, very dubious things. It was really nice of Jackal to want to defend his friend's honor, but he just got caught up in the mess and also lost his life fighting someone else's battle. And I'm in a constant crisis of thought about this most days because I'm the type of person to move like the jackal, but I also wonder how helpful that is to me as a person. And stories like this and real life events make me more cautious about having that approach because it's like you could lose your life trying to defend somebody else. I guess it's about knowing whose battle is actually a worthy cause and which one has been brought on by their own actions or lifestyle choices. Though that doesn't really apply to this because the baboon just wanted to help out the hare and be like a good friend and go with him to go see his in laws. The hare was just, yeah, he was just a shady guy. I honestly really contemplated having my version have the hare get shot by a hunter, but it would really take away from the spirit and the moral of the story if he had gotten a comeuppance of some kind. So I looked for other versions from other parts of the continent, and there was a Hausa version from the northern part of Nigeria, which is pretty much the same. Now, there are other Ndebele folk tales that have the hare and the baboon meeting or coming across their paths, and it's always usually a very contentious meeting. Now, there's one where the baboon is consistently stealing the hare's food from his family, and he grows fatter as they grow leaner, and the hare hatches a plan to cook the baboon. So he goes to the market, buys firewood, and sets up the fire with with a big pot of boiling water. Now, as the water is getting heated, the baboon comes down and is like, "What's going on over here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm about to take a bath." And he's like, "You want to take a bath before me?" Which is so wild because it's like, in my house. So the baboon gets into the water and he says it's really cold. And the hare tells him that, oh, I have to cover the lid so that it can get warm. And the baboon is like, okay, cover the lid so that it gets warm. He covers the lid and locks it, and the baboon cooks in real time. There's also another one where the baboon, or no, the hare invites the baboon to his house for dinner or lunch or something like that. And he keeps telling him to go wash his hands because when they walk the path to his house, their hands keep getting dirty and they have to keep going back to the river to wash their hands. And so they never get to eat. So the baboon repays his wickedness with doing the same thing. They go see the baboon, and the baboons are up in the tree eating. And he says, "Hey, climb the tree and come up here." So I thought that was also really interesting. Those are the characters that they use as literary tools in their storytelling, which is very cool. When we're back on the 7th of May, we will be delving into the origins of the kente cloth and their representations from the different parts of Ghana. We've come to the end of another episode of the Blema Sunny podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be bringing you episodes bi-weekly on Wednesdays. You can catch the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or Patreon. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at TBS Daily underscore AFT or email us at blimasunny@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any other versions of the stories you hear on here or just any other thoughts you have. You can also send in your original short stories and they will be featured on the pod. Today's show was produced by me, Kabuki Akumi. The stories are collected and researched, written and read by me. Show music by Andrey Ayete, and I am the orator of today's folktale. Thank you for listening. Until next time, Chilo. Take it easy. This has been the Chuchu Blema Sunny African Folktales and History Podcast, sharing truly African stories.